After the release of Eno, we've all been anxiously awaiting details for the next DLC hero, other than the leaked design of course. I mean, yikes. Let's hope that was from the beta version. That said, I do still hope that in the future we do get other heroes not included in the expansion pass through free updates. And when it comes to potential new characters we could get, Mwamba seems to be at the top of everyone's list. Apart from being a great side character who left the party way too soon, Mwamba is also a fan favourite, whether that's for meme reasons or not, which is why I'm going to be going through exactly what Mwamba would be like if he was a hero in Xenoblade 3. Before we start, however, I think it's important that we answer one crucial question first. Who is Mwamba? Legends tell of a hero who defeated Zanza, punched Malos in the face, and slept with Luxor to win rights for the people. This hero was Mwamba. Sadly, he was one of the afflicted from this loner's tricks and games. I mean, seriously, who goes to the theatre these days by themselves? Still, even though he was trapped in the eternal prison known as Ionios, he never wavered and continued to exhibit his true strength throughout this world, even becoming one of the original founders who first unlocked the true power of Ouroboros. Even so, he met an untimely end in the story of Xenoblade 3, something that we will be addressing later in this video, but even this isn't enough to knock him down, as the man stood right back up later in the story. What an absolute unit. With all of this in mind, and due to the fact that Mwamba carries the whole team on his back, I feel it would be the perfect opportunity to introduce the first multi-role hero, being an attacker, defender, and healer all at the same time. This would work exactly as you'd expect, with his class, dubbed Mwamba Rifle, having the best spread of stats across the board. Truly, Mwamba would be a jack of all trades, and a master of all of them as well, just like his real-life persona. Additionally, as you might have guessed from the name before, Mwamba's primary weapon would continue to be his sniper rifle. Furthermore, I'd also want this rifle to have a higher auto-attack range than normal, in that it doesn't have a limit, allowing you to attack from anywhere at the cost of a slower fire rate. Fitting for this style of weapon. But now it's time to get into the real meat and potatoes of the class, with us first looking through his skills. I decided to make the name of each skill a reference to something else, so see if you can spot them all. The first skill we'll be talking about today is by far the most important, being Mwamba Forever, a Wakanda Forever reference from Marvel Avengers. This skill aims to resolve the biggest issue that we're faced with when making Mwamba a hero, that being how he dies. How can he be a hero character if his spine is just going to get crushed each and every time we play through the main story? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple actually. This skill prevents Mwamba from ever being able to leave the main party, and it bypasses both death and doom. Put simply, this means that Mwamba can never die, never be replaced on your adventure throughout Ionios, and finally fulfill his dreams of joining the Salvage Corps. Obviously, the burden of Mwamba being a permanent party member is quite large, which is why I powered up his other skills. Speaking of which, next up we have Mwamba, which is actually an out of combat skill, multiplying all meal effects from campfires or canteens by 3 and being Mwamba's first master skill. This is admittedly just a quality of life change, making it far easier to grind and obtain the items that may be necessary for quests and other things throughout your adventure. At the risk of Monolith Soft and Nintendo getting copyrighted for the reference in the skill name, however, we will also be changing all of the in-game meal models to those of McDonald's items, providing them with free advertising, which will hopefully be enough to appease them. Speaking of which, sounds like they're here right now to speak to me about the jingle I just used. If only Mwamba was here right now to save me. He'd be able to fend them off easily, because as we all know, Mwamba is of course the biggest Giga Chad in Xenoblade 3. I'm sure by this point you're all familiar with this image and the other Giga Chad of this game, but Mwamba beats him out by taming even him. Therefore, we'll be basing his third skill, entitled Mwambinians, on this character trait, having the following effect. When HP dips below 50%, spawns a hacked NPC which fights along with the team, no limit. Effectively, just like Rex, this ability is represented representing how Mwamba simply just keeps popping out kids, whilst at the same time highlighting his friendship with Hacked.
F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for...
Finally, for the last skill, I decided to solve the conundrum I brought up before, Mwamba's death. Obviously, if Mwamba had his full power, he would have easily been able to fend off Wild Ride. So why did he lose? Well, I believe the answer, once more, is quite simple. His in-game level was obviously too low. Just think about it. Mwamba leaves the party at around level 7, whereas Wild Ride is at level 10. Clearly, if Mwamba was at the same level, he would destroy Wild Ride, but that's not really viable. So instead, we'll simply give him the ability to lower the enemy's level. That said, we don't want this skill to be too powerful, especially considering that this is also a master skill. So we'll only make it a 5% chance on auto attack specifically to lower the enemy's level by 1, balancing it out a little bit. As I think you'd all agree though, these skills are quite fitting for Mwamba, and I feel demonstrate his true power perfectly, whilst also removing the obstacles that prevented him from being a major part of the main story before, therefore allowing him to truly Mwamba all over Ionios. Even so, a powerful skill set is practically useless if the class doesn't have the arts to back them up, so let's have a look at those next. Similar to his kit at the start of the base game, Mwamba will have 3 offensive arts and 2 buff arts to choose from. Starting with the offensive ones, we have Mwamba Nova, which is a forced smash art. Forced in that it does not require launch to be activated, similar to how some arts worked back in Xenoblade 1, like with Final Cross and Starlight Kick, to name a few. As you can see on screen, the animation does take a little time to play out, what with all the foreplay and everything. Kids, ask your parents. But once it's all over and the sheets have been ruined, the enemy will feel the smash damage in their hearts. Following that, we have Mwamba, which as the name suggests, blows shit up. For this one, I was inspired partially through a game from my childhood, Call of Duty Zombies, and specifically the monkey bombs. If you're not familiar, these bad boys, obtained from the mystery box, temporarily draw in and distract the zombies before exploding and dealing damage. Therefore, this art will deal damage to the enemy, whilst also granting the entire party decoy, a substitute for the distraction mechanic. You may also be wondering what will act as the replacement for the monkey, as a simple grenade distracting the enemy doesn't really make much sense. Hence, this grenade will have a Nopon strapped to it. Now yes, this will technically make Mwamba a mass murderer, but Nopon are literally perfect for this role. It's been stated on multiple occasions that monsters just love to gobble Nopon up, and with this as an ultimatum, they might finally spill the beans on some of that juicy Nopon lore we've been yearning for in Xenoblade 3. Finally, we have Final Mwambing 7, which introduces another brand new effect into the game, specifically the ability to regress driver combos. Instead of going through a driver combo normally, being the process of break, topple, launch and smash, this effect would instead take the driver combo back one stage, but would only be applied when attacking from the side. Less so to limit the art's power and more so to give Mwamba a way to build his talent art, as well as being a master art, allowing this effect to be used far more regularly. That just leaves the 2 remaining buff arts, which are Play Dead and My Rifle's Getting Sexier, respectively. Play Dead reduces the user's aggro to 0 for 44 seconds and enrages allies, being both a reference to Ricky's Play Dead art and adding lore and context to this scene. On the other hand, My Rifle's Getting Sexier is a reference to Sharla, who uses a similar type of weapon. The effect is both healing all allies on art activation and increasing the damage of his arts by 10% per art use. Lastly, we have his talent art, where Mwamba summons his Mwamado, using a random art which each has a different effect. I don't have time to cover them all in this video, so just check the pinned comment for all the effects, but some of my favourites are Mwamado Jump, Mwamado Storm, and Mwamado Unbound. With Jump preventing any fall damage and ignoring death barriers, Storm changing the weather to Brimstone Rain because Ionios is Mirror, and Unbound defeating all enemies in existence, including your Nintendo Switch.
Jesus dead! Oh my god! Oh, get out! Oh my god!
Overall, his arts are designed to change the way the game is played, while still being impactful and adding something to the overall combat. Hopefully replacing the primary support heroes like Miyabi, and Nell's little PogChamp. God, imagine all the Miyabi Rule 34 on his computer.
Oh no! Anyway,
The only thing left to discuss is what Mwamba will do in chain attacks. For his chain order, I decided to use the effect that was included within this image, which was totally data mined and found in the files. This chain order deals 1 billion damage, which I checked, and that is not actually a real number, so instead we will simply increase the damage ratio by 1,000,000%, and grants a 50% chance to Mwamba over the enemies. Yet again, this is another new effect that would be added into Xenoblade 3, and you might be wondering what Mwamba could possibly do. Well, it changes all non-Mwamba entities into Mwamba, meaning the enemy you're facing, the party members, the nearby NPCs, and even the Nopon you throw strapped to your grenades are all changed into Mwamba. But it doesn't end there. You may also notice that it specifies that Mwamba is AoE. How AoE, you ask? Well, large enough that this ability is not just limited to the digital world, meaning that loved ones and people IRL may also become Mwamba. But as long as you finish the chain attack before they start an uprising, I'm sure we'll all be fine. As for his chain selection, I wanted to go with something a little bit more unrealistic, considering the fact that everything else I've said up to this point could totally be added to the game at some point. But that aside, when Mwamba is selected, he drains / steals / takes the TP from the remaining active characters and adds their TP to his own, totaling 20 at the start of battle. This has the potential for massive TP gains and really easy Bravo and amazing tier completions, but considering that you only really want to be activating Mwamba at the start of each chain attack, it isn't going to give you the highest chain attack damage possible, something that I think is a fair trade-off considering his chain order. So then, now that we've outlined all of his abilities, powers and arts, how would he play? Well, as a hero, Mwamba would primarily fill a DPS support role through the use of his arts and skills, summoning hacks from the heavens and lowering the enemy's level from anywhere in Ionios, due to there being no limit on his auto attack range. As a class, however, I feel that this would be one of the stronger ones in the game, especially when you 6-stack his abilities, dropping any enemy's level to 1 in mere seconds, while spawning an army of NPCs to defeat Mobius for you. Sure, there'd be a lot of genocide, Nopon and hacks alike, but ultimately, it will all be worth it once Mwamba reigns supreme once more. In one simple word, Mwamba's class would bring one thing to the game: chaos. To finish off this video, I'd just like to tell my family that I'm okay and safe. Yes, Mwamba kidnapped me and forced me to make this video, but nobody watches the outros nowadays anyway, so he shouldn't notice. My current location is please send help, but whilst you're on hold waiting for the police to answer, please also click that subscribe button and notification bell so that Mwamba doesn't cut my fingers off. I hope you've all enjoyed this video and have some happy holidays, and hopefully, if I get out of this alive, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.